Hey everybody, Adam Davidson, RadCast for Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023. This is what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 7, verses 13 and 14. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow is the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. And that's the word of the Lord. You got up this morning, your feet hit the floor, and you took a well-known path from your bed to the bathroom, and then maybe over to the coffee pot, and then over to laundry, and then finally maybe out to your car to get the kids to school, and then you got to work and you took your regular paths, or you went to do your errands and you took your regular paths. We're all on this path, and if we were to look at our data, because our phones are probably tracking us, there's a way to get to it, we could see that we tend to take the same paths every day. We have these rhythms and routines. Well, these folks, the folks that existed in the Bible times, certainly had their paths too, and they knew that a gate and a path, these were important parts of their journey because they were doing everything on foot, and to get into a city, you had to find the right gate. Well, Jesus is telling us, as you're traveling, allegorically he's speaking, of course, you're either on the wide path that everybody's on that leads to destruction, or the narrow path that few find but leads to life. So Jesus asks us this question today, my dear friends: what path are we on? Of course, the narrow path and the narrow gate is the way of following Jesus, that in our faith in him we find the salvation, and yet it takes intention to find it. The wide path is the thing that comes naturally for us. Think about how different it is driving on a wide road versus a narrow road. Going down to Kentucky a couple days ago, you feel this difference firsthand. Sometimes we were driving on the Eisenhower Expressway system with these wide, luxurious lanes, and then we'd work our way to a state route somewhere in Kentucky, and the roads were a little more narrow. It was 2, maybe 3 lanes, but still pretty easy. Then you get to a county road. It's 2 lanes there, but there's still a nice stripe down the middle. But then you would end up on these little tiny roads that go from village to village in the nowheresville of Kentucky, and the roads are so small you'd think you were in somebody's driveway. And not only that, but the locals would just fly up and down these roads that curve and hill and crest and all that. And I'm driving my truck, hands at 9 and 3, radio off so I can pay attention, watching every single thing, because you're within, it feels like, just a few inches of certainly crashing. This is the difference between living the life on the narrow path and living on the wide path. The wide path, you're still moving. You're still paying attention to stuff. There's plenty of resources. It's super popular. But then that narrow path, you really have to pay attention to how you're living. Well, this is what it is for us to follow Christ. The psalmist tells us, he says, "Teach me your ways, Lord. Lead me in a straight path." Or he asked the question in Psalm 119, how can a young person stay pure? It's simply by living according to your word. And then later in the Psalms, it says, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. So you take your physical paths today, but spiritually, as you follow Jesus, I trust you are following Jesus. If not, that's the first step to take. But if you are you staying on that straight and narrow path? Are you listening to the word? Are you listening to him? Are you doing the thing not that's popular, but that's true and therefore right? These are the things that we have to ask ourselves as disciples. But isn't it so good that he's given us the opportunity to find salvation, and he's given us the grace to make it through? This is the way to live. Now join me in this upward journey, and may the Spirit equip us to stay on the narrow path that leads to the narrow gate that leads to life. That's RadCast.